A very warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to Commander Rathore YouTube channel, which is the only official YouTube channel of RS Defense Select Academy Bhopal. I hope all of you are watching our videos and you guys have given us very good response to our mock interviews, to the PIQ video and to the other ground videos such as individual obstacles and command tasks. I am sure all of you must have been learning significantly, which will be very much essential for your upcoming SSB interviews. I know all of you must be wondering that the first challenge to you is to clear the OIR test, and that is why it is our prime motive to ensure that the complete OIR series is brought in front of you so that you don't have to wander around and looking for multiple resources. You can only rely upon this playlist, which is going to be played subsequently for the next 5 to 6 days. And in the next course of 5 to 6 days, we can ensure that you guys will perform tremendously well in your OIR test. I am Abhijit Singh Arora, Head of Training at RS Defense Select Academy Bhopal. And today in this video, we are going to discuss about questions on DICE. DICE is a very important part of the OIR test, and its various questions related to DICE are being asked, especially in the technical entries of the OIR test. So without wasting much time, let us try analyzing first of all what a DICE is. So this is how a DICE looks like. All of you must have played the indoor games during your school times or during your childhood. I know due to the time constraints these days, you guys might not be getting sufficient time. But if you look at this DICE, you guys can see, and it is quite obvious, that it has 6 faces, wherein at one of the side you will see a digit. It could be between 1 to 6. And as this is in the shape of a cuboid, as you can see on the screen, all these 6 faces will have different values. Now, if we consider a normal DICE, which we have at our home, if you guys are playing the indoor games, you guys can observe that the opposite two faces will sum up to a value 7. So if I go back to this slide, so let's say if you see the face value 1, which is on the top, so the value which will be on below will be 6. Why? Because 1 plus 6 will equal to 7. This is in case of a normal DICE, but generally the questions which are asked in the OIR test are not a normal DICE which will sum up to 7, but still you guys must have a basic understanding. So let's say here, if the face value is 5, so the opposite side will have 2. So 2 plus 5 will be equal to 7. Hope this makes sense to all of you. And oh my god, what this is all about. You guys must be wondering now, this does not look like the shape of a DICE. This is because the DICE has been opened up, and this shows an open DICE to you now. So now, how will we identify what are the adjacent faces and what are the opposite faces? Because if you guys observe over here, this 4 and 3 are adjacent to each other, and this 1 and 6, these are the opposite faces. Here in this case 6 and 5 are adjacent faces. Here in this case 1 and 2 are adjacent faces. But when I open up this DICE, how will you guys find out what are the opposite faces and what are the adjacent faces? So let me tell you how you can identify. So over here this 1 and 2 are adjacent faces. Similarly 2 and 6 are adjacent faces. Similarly 4 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 5. Sir, what about the opposite faces? Now, if you skip one of the block, those are the opposite faces. That means this 1 and 6 forms the opposite faces. Similarly, 4 and 3 forms the opposite faces. Similarly, even this 2 and 5 forms a pair of opposite faces. Similarly, you guys can identify over here also. Let me give you one more example so that your concepts are crystal clear. Here, this 4 and 3 are opposite faces. Similarly, this 5 and 2 are opposite faces. Whereas this 5 and 1 are adjacent faces, and 6 and 5 are adjacent faces. All right, so let's have a look at the first question. So as you all know, generally in the social medias and on the Google, if you try searching for questions, there will be a lot of errors. And this is one question which I have picked up from the internet. And as you guys can see, there were errors in this question. So I have corrected this. So in the not in the following two figure, there are four figures of the dice is mentioned. So no worries, as long as there's a good mentor to guide you, you need not to worry about it. So here it is asked to find out the number which is opposite to the face showing 1. So that means we have to find out which number is opposite to 1. Now, one more thing which you guys must know is if two numbers are adjacent to each other, they cannot be opposite to each other. Similarly, if two numbers are opposite to each other, let's say here it's 6 and here there's a number x, so they cannot be adjacent to each other. Keeping this in mind, let us solve this question. So we have to find out the number which is opposite to the number 1. So as you guys can see over here, 1 is adjacent to 6 and 5. So these two numbers cannot be opposite. Similarly, in these two dices, number 1 is not mentioned, so this is not relevant to us. If we look at dice number 4, now over here, 2 is adjacent to 1 and 4 is also adjacent to 1. So 2 cannot be opposite. Similarly, 4 cannot be opposite, 5 cannot be opposite, and 6 cannot be opposite. And it's quite obvious, you all know, there are only 6 different types of numbers in a dice because it's a cuboid. So the number which is left is 3, and that is why the answer has to be option B, 3. Hope this makes sense to all of you. Let's have a look at the other question, which will clear your concepts in case you are still in a state of dilemma. Here it is asked again here in the following three figures. So I will keep correcting the questions because you should not rely upon the questions directly from the internet. So here it is asked, find the number which is opposite to the face showing 5. Okay, so in all the three cases 5 is mentioned. So 5 is adjacent to 1. 5 is also adjacent to 6. Here 5 is already adjacent to 6 here, so we'll not consider that again. 5 is again now adjacent to 3. And over here we also observe that 5 is also adjacent to 2. So 4 numbers are already covered. 1, 2, 3 and 6. And 5 is the number itself. So the number which is left is 4, which has to be the number which is opposite to 5. I hope all of you have understood this. Now this is a different type of question which is also asked in dices. So over here the question is, if we are going to fold this in the shape of a dice, is it going to take the shape of option A or option B or option C or option D? Again, we'll use the same principle. Now look over here, let us look at option number A. Now over here you guys can see 2 and 6 are adjacent to each other. Yes, if they are beside each other, they are adjacent to each other. It's mentioned 2 and 4 are adjacent to each other, but wait a second, dear friends. If you look over here, 2 and 4, they are opposite to each other. So option A is eliminated. So if we look at 2 and 6, yes, 2 and 6 are adjacent to each other. What about 5 and 6? Because they are pretty far from each other. Let's wait for a moment. I will come back to this and I will tell you one more trick which will be very important for you all. Let us have a look at 2 and 3. Okay, 2 and 3 are besides each other. 2 and 6, yes, it is also besides each other. Obviously, the answer has to be C, but still, we'll again look at the other options in case you have time left. But as you all know, you are generally given a time frame of 70 to 20 minutes to solve 40 to 50 questions. So it is always advisable, as soon as you get a rock solid answer, need not waste time for the other options and proceed to the next question. And as there's no negative marking in case of OIR, so it is always advisable, please do not miss out on attempting any question. So even if less time is left, please do attempt whatever comes to your mind. Okay, so now let us have a look at option D also, because right now we have time and we need to understand the core concepts right now. Over here it is mentioned that 1 and 6 are adjacent to each other here, but we are not sure. All right, because it is coming up diagonally. So this is also undetermined. Here, this is also undetermined. So the answer has to be C. All right, hope this makes sense to all of you. Let us have a look at one more question. So now this is not the case of a dais. Here 6 different figures are mentioned. So let's have a look to understand this. It's mentioned that this star and this 5 circles are adjacent to each other. But here you guys can understand that this star and 5 circles are opposite to each other. So option A cannot be the answer. Obviously, the only option left is option 2. So option 2 has to be the answer. This is homework for all of you. And why I'm giving you a homework is because it's not mere an online video that you are watching. I want to be emotionally attached to all of you because you all are my students, irrespective of the location from wherever you guys are watching this video. So what I want all of you is, this is the question figure. And if we are going to fold this, it will either form option 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you will write your full name and the answer, whether it is 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the comment section. And in the next video, I'm going to name the top 5 students who have written down the comments. So let's say if 10 students have written the answer, the first 5 students who have written down the answer, their names are going to be featured in the next video. And I'm also going to explain what is the right answer in case you are unable to understand what should be the right answer. Thank you everybody for watching, and please stay tuned and keep watching all our videos, because in the subsequent days we are going to complete this OIR test, which is also going to be helpful not just in your OIR test, in the other competitive exams also, where verbal and non-verbal reasoning plays a substantial role. Thank you everybody for watching.